And finally, wrapping up myth number 8. There are no good foods, no bad foods. And, this is the most common message. This is the message that is, one of my pet peeves in nutrition education. All foods can fit into a healthy diet. Nutrition month, a banner. Enjoy everything in moderation. These are just feel-good messages meant to reassure the people that are sponsoring the Nutrition Month. And again, as I mentioned, this is so much more about politics than about health. We consistently see that the major sponsors, the people with the bucks, if you've ever heard Howard Lyman speak, them that got the golden rule, them that got the gold make the rules. Well, that is absolutely true. The people that can afford to sponsor these huge nutrition education campaigns are the people that are causing all the problems. And so, the bottom line is they're not going to sponsor if we tell them to eat less. So of their food. So how should we spend our nutrition education dollars? Well, we've got over 70% of North Americans will die of a diet-induced chronic disease. 67% of Americans and 61% of Canadians are overweight or obese. So, when you think about our precious few nutrition education dollars, should we be using them to convince people that it's okay to eat deep-fried pork rinds just so long as they eat them in moderation? It's just beyond ridiculous, in my view. Some foods are damaging to human health. Even in relatively small quantities, they're damaging to human health. And other foods are highly protective to human health. Even in small quantities, they're quite protective. So when we look at the dietary factors that increase our risk of chronic disease, refined carbohydrates, trans fatty acids, saturated fat, cholesterol, pro-oxidants, food contaminants, excessive salt, certain food additives, and when you look at that list, what do you see? Processed food, animal, both animal and processed food, both processed foods and processed foods. There are two categories of foods that are really causing most of the problem. That's sort of fatty animal foods and the processed foods. And the very worst of all, is the processed fatty animal foods. Like Spam. I worked on this island. Has anyone ever heard of the Marshall Islands? The Marshall Islands, you've heard of the Marshall Islands? The Marshall Islands are halfway between Hawaii and Australia. They're probably the most remote country in the world. That's why they were used after the Second World War as atomic bomb testing grounds. They calculated sort of an averaged over a number of days the actual atomic bomb testing that was done there, and they estimated that the equivalent of 1.5 Hiroshima-sized bombs was detonated every day for 11 years. So this is where I spend my spare time. And right now, about half of the adults have type 2 diabetes. Okay? And these people, 60 years ago, had this much diabetes. Absolutely none. There was no diabetes in the Marshall Islands. Now, probably 50% have type 2 diabetes of the adults, 35 plus, and the rest of them have prediabetes. And you say, well, what happened? Well, what happened is Spam became meat number one. These people live on, you can't even believe it. They live on, the children for breakfast, one of their favorite foods is ramen noodles in a crinkly package, crack open the pack, and sprinkle Kool-Aid powder on top. Yeah, that's breakfast. And if you want to give a little boost of flavor, a little what they call Ajinomoto. You may know it as MSG. So that's breakfast. Or maybe a Pepsi and a popsicle. Or a bag of cheesies and a Coke. Whatever they want. That's just what they eat. Lunch and dinner are meat, quite often Spam or corned beef or chicken or some sort, or the parts of animals we don't want, turkey tails, pig's blood, pig's intestines, pig's ears, whatever. And then they eat white rice and meat with no vegetables for lunch and dinner. And they wash it all down with luau, which is #1 ingredient is high fructose corn syrup. So you can imagine you couldn't design a diet to induce diabetes better than the diet that they've got. But you know what the exciting news is their government has just turned over the hospital food service and public school education to our diabetes center. Because what's happening is we're seeing complete reversal of diabetes in a lot of these people. The dietary factors that we know reduce our risk of chronic disease, well, fiber, antioxidants, phytochemicals, plant stanols and sterols, healthy fats, vitamins, minerals, there are all kinds of things. But if you look at this list, fiber comes only from plants, antioxidants, primarily plants, phytochemicals, exclusively plants, mostly plants, and of course a variety of foods. But you can see that the protective components are concentrated in plants. You look at the top 10 sources of calories in the North American diet: soft drinks, sweet beverages, pastries, baked goods, hamburgers, pizza, white bread, rolls, crackers, alcohol, milk, cheese, dairy products, meat, poultry. And we got our token veggie in here at number 10. Salty snacks like potato chips and French fries. Remember what induces disease and what protects us? Well, what you're looking at here is everything that, you can quickly understand why 70% of us will die of diet-induced chronic disease. Look at what we're eating. I had to show you this. This is called the Heart Attack Grill, home of the double bypass burger. Taste worth dying for. It's not like we don't get it. People know. They get it. They get it. Here you are, you got your double bypass burger, your triple bypass burger, your quadruple bypass burger, and you got your waitress. And as a bonus, everything is deep fried in pure lard. And if you happen to weigh over 350 pounds, you eat all day, every day, free, unlimited. Okay?
And they're not going out of business.
They're not going out of business anytime soon. So, what do people actually need to hear? We have so few nutrition education dollars. We're literally flushing it down the drain, telling people that they just need to eat everything in moderation. What they need to hear is they need to eat more fruits and vegetables. They need to eat legumes as a part of their daily diet. They need to limit their intake of refined sugars and all refined carbohydrates. They need to be choosing whole grains rather than refined grains. Limit processed foods. Eat less meat if you eat meat at all. Don't you love these babies? See, they're smart. We need to take personal responsibility for our health. No government has ever made nutrition a national priority. It hasn't happened yet. It's their responsibility, in my view, to make healthy choices easy for people. But they're not doing very well at succeeding in this task. That means it's up to you and it's up to me. And the deal is that it is unbelievable how powerful diets can be at protecting people, reducing risk of disease. But it's also unbelievable how powerful diet can be at reversing disease that already exists. You cannot take a lifestyle-induced disease and treat it with pills or surgeries and expect to get reversal of that disease. The only thing that will ever succeed at reversing a diet-induced disease is aggressive diet and lifestyle changes, period.